Hi, it's Keith. Welcome back. Today we're looking at a timing belt overhaul. This is on Honda Accord and Acura, the 3.0 Vtec J Series. We're going to do a summary of the teardown and parts and maybe a few tips along the way, so let's get started.
I'll have to take it off at some point, yes. It's okay. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. Fucking hell, it's still hot.
Now we're down to both timing covers removed and exposing the belt. There's timing cover number 1, timing cover number 2. So let's take a look at some of the parts I chose for this job. It's always good to go with full Honda and Acura parts whenever you can, but in this situation I was trying to save a little money because this car needed other work and other pending jobs, and I didn't know how long I was going to keep the vehicle, so I went with a quality aftermarket company that I've used before. And frankly, I've done a lot of water pumps over the years on everything from Ford, Toyota, Acura, Honda. I've never had a water pump, a replacement water pump go out on me. But you have to make that decision. If you want to go all Honda and pay all that money, go for it, you know, especially if you're going to keep the car a while. It's really up to you. These other parts are companies I've used before for the tensioner and pulleys, and again was trying to save a little money here. And I've used their parts before in other jobs. I've had good luck. And you can research some of this stuff straight off Rock Auto, and you can Google companies, and some of them have plants and factories right here in the US. But that's a decision you can make. For seals, absolutely go with Honda. Do not skimp out here, especially the seals that are deep down in the engine, like the crank, because the aftermarket seals sometimes don't fit as well, and they aren't engineered and don't last. I would absolutely go with Honda seals. And for this job, we did get the one for the crank, but did decide to skip the ones for the cam seals. You may have seen the other seals earlier in the video. The reason is that mine were not leaking, and the general consensus among many mechanics is if the cam seals are not leaking, just leave them alone. Sometimes and often they outlast the car themselves. So that was a decision I made. You can make your own decision on that, or you can you know, replace them at the next timing interval. And if you watch till the end of the video, the end screens will tell you how long it's been since I've filmed this video and how many miles I've been driving since. The giant hex tool that goes inside the hex opening in the crank is a free rental from many auto parts stores. You just put a deposit, and it enables you to keep the crank stationary while you take off the center bolt with a different ratchet.
Hey, did I tell you that this is the hardest part of the job? This is a cheap one anyway.
Yeah.
Half-inch worth of steel. Twisting with no problem. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this like this. Get it like that. No, I can't do that because that's I'm going to be into your finger or something. There we go. Something just went.
Yeah. hardest part. Yep. Ouch, ouch, ouch.
Wow.
Beautiful.
This one was a bitch. Mark it.
Yep. Lines up with that mark right there.
Yep. Mark the belt. Mark that part. So you're going to mark the new belt. Identical. Hey, guess what?
There we go.
Marking the second one.
That is the crank bolt, which finally came off. Were you concerned about that bolt?
No. I've never heard of one breaking. I've seen people twist the thing from like an angle like this.
Wow.
Snap! And it gets loose.
Then a breaker bar snaps back.
I have broke a breaker bar before. That one that you're this one is new. I broke one before.
Yeah, I broke it. I broke it one time. It wasn't a good Craftsman.
It was a Craftsman.
Well, I'm gonna have to buy a dessert, I guess, tonight. Since really working your tail off here.
Come on, bitch.
Probably would have made more money if you just took an easy job overtime.
That's true. That's alright.
Go ahead.
You gotta be careful of this key. Sometimes they come out.
Yeah.
And sometimes they want to get lost. We got two more bolts there, 10 millimeter.
So as you can see, there's oil everywhere from a long-standing leak with this car. And before getting into this job, it wasn't clear whether that was coming from a seal or a cam, seal or crank, you know, that are buried deep under all this hardware. But after getting through this job, we realized it was coming from another place, the actual oil pump housing gasket, which has since been fixed, and I will put up another video on that. It's nice to have this car leak-free. Once the bottom shroud is off underneath the car and the tire, there's a lot more light that enters the engine compartment, and it's literally night and day difference in seeing. It's much better. That big black plastic cover that's coming off, that's the final timing cover on the bottom of the engine. Remember, there were a couple more up top.
Hey, man.
That's the third and final timing cover taken off. So now everything is exposed.
I mean, we got to take this off so we can get, number one, get this belt, but number two, get that belt.
So this is loosening up the motor mount, and it will swing out of the way so that you can get the belts around with the floor jack.
Yeah, you have to support the engine before you do this.
Eventually, or no? So now the motor mount, once it's loose, gets flipped up so you can then get the belt. Next is removing this piece that mounts the motor mount to the engine so that it's out of the way. That is done down there. How many bolts for that, Darren? 3?
2 of them are hidden. Take this off easier.
Oh, okay. So basically that little pin that goes in that shaft lines up with the tick mark at the top of the gear. You can see there's a little mark at the very top of that gear, and that pin comes out, that pin slides out, which I can't get to right now to block the camera.
Yeah, but what I do is I mark the belt somewhere here. 180 to it.
So marking old belt, and then we'll mark new belt. So that is now marked. The gear and the belt. Okay, got one just came out.
That's the tensioner.
The tensioner, and comes another one. Yeah, let's see that.
Yeah.
Taking out the timing belt. It's always good to line the belts up, make sure they're the same size.
And so what I do now, Keith, this is the top right here. So then what I do is actually usually what I do is I put them on the outside, and then I double and triple check the teeth count or wherever I marked it. So this one's going to go middle, just like that, right? So transfer the line, and see how this one's right here in the middle?
Yeah.
So I just do the same thing.
So the water pump is coming up next before we put the new belt on, and due to the length of time this job takes in real life, I did go through a couple cameras and a spare battery and had to charge the camera before filming the very end, but I did get stills of the water pump. If you get this far, it is pretty easy. The water pump is just those few bolts, and then you crack it loose and put a pan underneath to catch the coolant. Putting the new one in is pretty simple, and it has a gasket included, so do not add gasket sealant or any RTV or anything like that. We also didn't get the crank seal on camera, but I did show you where it was earlier in the video. So that metal sleeve is out of the old and into the new. The new belt is on and marked in 3 places. The new timing belt is on, and you'll see the marks line up there and there and there. And you can disregard the little number 1 that is above the bolt, because that is a number 1, that's not a mark. Right?
It's marking number 1, yeah. Here's the thing. Are these all back in the exact same place? That's what matters. Because if this was off a tooth, then that would matter.
Yeah, that would matter big.
It doesn't, because they're
and
identical.
There's the other one. And the same is true underneath the car, which...
Go ahead and show.
We'll show in a sec. No, what I was saying is, see the number 1 right there? It doesn't... Yeah. It's just a number. It's not a tick
number
mark.
1 is supposed to be up. That's supposed to be on the top. This and this is supposed to be lined up.
Right.
That little spot, there's supposed to be a spot over there that's lined up.
And there
and
is.
Then the one on the bottom.
And that is the 3rd one, and you can see the mark there on the bottom where we marked it, and the key lines up on top. on the belt. Next step is release the tensioner. It's kind of hard to see.
See perfect right here.
Okay, I'll come down. Now we're going to release the tensioner with a screwdriver, and this is going to release the spring, and then the pressure is going to go against the belt and make it nice and tight. You never want to do this until you're ready, because once that thing is released, it's done. So you want to make sure everything is in, and then you release that, and then it springs back against the belt, provides the tension. So that wraps up this job. You put everything back together, the reverse of what you saw, and put coolant in, and she's ready to roll. You know, this was filmed a few years ago. I've just been behind on posting videos with all the car projects I've done, and since then I've driven about 10,000 per year. I've not had any problems or leaks. These parts have worked out really well for me, and I've also had the opportunity since then to fix a couple oil leaks, which those videos are up. I did one, and my friend Darren helped me on another. Thank you to him for taking the lead on this. And so, is this your first timing belt job? Are you experienced? Are you having a friend help you? Would love to hear how it goes. So please like and subscribe and post a comment, and we'll speak to you then. Thanks.